for tonight at 8:30, the SIG session. Would like to request.
to everyone. Welcome to Envisioning the Future of English Language Education, Exploring Innovation and Best Practices in English Language Teaching of ICEL 2022. My name is Ain Nadira and I'm one of the rapporteurs at ELTC and I will be serving as your moderator for this session. Before we begin, I have a few housekeeping notes. Please mute your mobile phones during the presentation. If you have any question for the presenters, please raise your hand at the end of the presentation to pose your question. Now, please welcome Yvonne, Lenti, Anak, Jaban, and Kho Chung Wei, who will be speaking to us on the effectiveness of using puppets in grammar form retention among Malaysian Year 4 ESL pupils. Please welcome.
What a big stage for a small girl, right? Okay, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Yvonne Lenti, Anak, Jaban. I'm a trainee teacher from Institute of Teacher Education at Batu Lintang campus, Kuching. And today I will be presenting on the effectiveness of using puppets in grammar forms retention among Malaysian Year 4 English as Second Language pupils. Now, I assume everyone here knows Sesame Street, right? Elmo, Cookie Monster, and Big Bird. What are they? They are Muppets, a special type of Muppets. Just a little bit about me. Sesame Street is actually my favorite childhood show. And I have a special place in my heart for puppets. Hence why, when it is finally time for me to conduct an English language research, I decided to study the effectiveness of using puppets in grammar forms retention. I have chosen the Year 4 English as Second Language pupils for this study because at this stage, they are just beginning to be introduced to the concept of regular past tense form, addition of D, ED, and substitution of IED based on the DSKP. Therefore, it is better to address this problem at the earlier stage of the pupil's exposure to these grammar forms. Now, moving on. Based on a recent study conducted by Mori in the year 2020, grammar is the main component of English language that pupils often struggle with as they feel that learning it as bothering and intimidating. So in relation to this negative perspective of learning grammar, puppets could be the solution that helps pupils to enjoy learning grammatical forms and rules and simultaneously help increase their grammar knowledge because according to Remmer and Zuriel in the year 2015, puppets provide a relaxing atmosphere in classroom that generates active participation. Utilized and analyzed in schools according to Kroger and Luponen in the year 2019. Based on my own personal experience going to practicum before this, it is also true whereby I have not seen any teacher use puppets in class. Ergo, the objective of this study is to examine the effectiveness of using puppets in grammar forms retention among Malaysian Year 4 English as Second Language pupils. Moving on to the research questions. In this study, there are 3 research questions, which is first, does the implementation of puppets improve the pupils' retention of grammar forms? The second research question is, do the pupils find using puppets interesting? The third research question is there any significant difference in pupils' retention of grammar form between the treatment group that uses puppets and the control group that uses grammar drills? From these research questions, 2 hypotheses are formulated. The first hypothesis, for the null hypothesis, there is no difference between pre-test and post-test scores of pupils that use puppets in learning grammar form. An alternative hypothesis for this is that there is a significant difference between the pre-test and post-test scores of pupils that use puppet in learning grammar form. The second hypothesis, For the null hypothesis, there is no difference between the test score of pupils that use puppets in learning grammar forms and the test score of pupils that apply grammar drills. The alternative hypothesis for this is that there is a significant difference between the test scores of pupils that use puppets in learning grammar forms and the test scores of pupils that apply grammar drills. To test this hypothesis, we are setting the alpha level at 0.05. And before I move on to the next elements of this study, I would like to clarify 3 limitations to this study. The first is time constraint. As a trainee teacher from an Institute of Teachers Education, we only have limited time to conduct the study at school because we are required to finish the research paper in 1 semester. The second limitation is that small sample size. Due to the time constraint, it is only achievable for me to execute the study and properly handle the treatment and control group according to the data collection method and procedure on a small group of pupils. And the third limitation is the inability to conduct random assignment. The Year 4 pupils, which are the research participant of this study, will be maintained in their own class with one class as the treatment group and the other class as the control group. It is because as the experimenter from outside the school, I have no authority to create new artificial groups that combine pupils from different classes. Okay, so that's for the limitation. Moving on to the methodology, first we will look at the research design. A pre- and post-test quasi-experimental design is used because its design aims to establish a cause and effect relationship between an independent and dependent variable based on a non-random criterion, and this is according to Creswell in the year 2015. This is due to the inability to randomize the pupils from different classes, as it will disrupt their learning process in school. Now, based on this research design, a pretest will be given to both groups at the beginning of the study. For the treatment group, they will use puppets to learn regular past tense form, while the control group will use grammar drills to learn regular past tense form of addition of D, ED, and substitution of IED to learn the regular past tense form. And at the end of the study, both groups will be given a post-test. I will now turn to conceptual framework. This study aims to connect the use of puppets in grammar retention. The arrow in diagram 2.0 depicts the direct impact of using puppets in grammar form retention among Malaysian Year 4 English as Second Language pupils. Moving on to sampling, the research participants are from 2 intact Year 4 classes with a total of 58 pupils, with treatment group of 23 pupils and control group consisting of 25 pupils. Besides that, it is mentioned in the limitation that the sample size is too small to generalize to the whole population of Year 4 pupils across Malaysia due to the time constraint to conduct the research. However, it is hoped that the result from this small sample size can form a basis of future studies to be conducted on the intervention and the issue. Moving on to the instruments for data collection, the first instrument is pre-test and post-test to measure their knowledge of grammar form, and the second instrument is field notes from the observation. Actually, to increase the credibility of my field note, I have asked another course mate to sit in the class and observe the class while I conduct the study with me. And it means that my field notes are observation from two people. Okay. I will now turn to treatment procedure. How is my, Okay, now we will look at treatment procedure. How is my study conducted? How is my treatment conducted? Okay, in the first session, the pupils will be introduced to 3 puppets, which are called Mr. D, Mr. ED, and Mr. IED. Okay, so teacher explains that each puppet has its own role, which is according to the rule of regular past tense form, addition of ED, IED, and substitution of IED to the ending of past tense words. In the second session, teacher focuses on Mr. D puppet and its rule for this session. At the end of the session, the pupils will answer quizzes based on addition of D to the past tense form words. In the third session, teacher focuses on Mr. ED puppet and the rules for the session. Likewise, at the end of the session, the pupils will be assessed on their on Mr. IED puppet and the rule for the session. At the end of the session, similarly, the pupils will answer worksheet based on the substitution of Y to IED at the end of past tense word. Okay, so that's for treatment procedure. Now, time to unveil the truth, the finding. Okay, so for research question 1, which is, does the implementation of puppets improve the pupils' retention of grammar forms? So to test the difference between the pre-test and post-test scores of pupils that use puppets in learning grammar forms, I have conducted a paired sample t-test, and the paired sample t-test revealed a significant improvement for the treatment group from the pretest of mean 12.77 and standard deviation of 5.81 to the post-test scores of mean 17.77 and standard deviation 2.98. So the t-value, as can be seen on the screen, is significant. And additional information, for the control group, there was also a significant difference between pretest scores of mean 14.04 and standard deviation of 4.84 to the post-test scores of mean 18.64 and standard deviation of 2.74. Hence, the null hypothesis for hypothesis 1 can be rejected, whereby there is a significant improvement of the pupils' retention of grammar forms using puppets. Okay, moving on to findings for research question 2, which is there any significant difference in pupils' retention of grammar form between the treatment group that uses puppets and the control groups that uses grammar drills? Okay, so to answer research question 2, I have conducted an ANCOVA, or analysis of covariance, as can be seen on the screen. And the analysis of covariance showed that the analysis of covariance showed that there was no significant effect of the teaching approaches on retention of regular past tense form as assessed by the post-test after controlling for the effects of the pre-test. With the F value of 0.45 and P value of 0.51, which is obviously more than the alpha level of 0.05. Hence, the null hypothesis for hypothesis 2, which is there is no difference between the test score of pupils that use puppets in learning grammar forms and the post-test scores of pupils that apply grammar drills, is retained. And the third and last findings for this study is that to answer research question 3, which is, do the pupils find using puppets interesting? The answer is as simple as yes, they do. From the observation, the pupils ask and voluntarily answer questions more, which means that puppets prompt active participation in teaching and learning process. Next, the pupils are also very energetic during the lesson besides showing interest in learning grammar form. Here, it is derived that the pupils are more motivated to learn grammar using puppets instead of grammar drills. Besides, they are excited to use puppets because it is fun for them. Therefore, puppet is the fun element in classroom. Now, what do these findings suggest? Okay, the findings seem to suggest that using finger puppet as a pedagogical tool works as effectively as the grammar drills approach in grammar forms retention. So despite my love and hope I have for puppets to be a better pedagogical tool, it actually only works as effective as grammar drills, not more. However, it is evident that the pupils are more motivated and interested to learn using puppets. It is necessary to make learning fun, so that it is meaningful for the pupils. Therefore, implementation of puppet is still significant in the teaching and learning process. According to Haliza in 2018, despite the various approaches suggested in implementing effective grammar teaching, the most important element of teaching must allow English as second language learners to construct meaningful understanding of the grammatical form in their communicative language activities. Besides that, according to Kroger and opponent in 2019, puppets have the potential in generating communication, supporting positive classroom climate, enhancing creativity, and changing attitudes. On the other hand, puppets provides a relaxing atmosphere in classroom that generates active participation in the lesson, and this is according to Remer and Zuriel in 2015, which is necessary for an intimidating component such as learning grammar. Now, for further suggestions for future study on perhaps the issue or the intervention, okay, now first, to compare the results between treatment and control group, a longer time frame to conduct the study would be ideal. Second, a bigger sample size is necessary to generalize the results of the study to the whole population of Malaysian Year 4 English as Second Language pupils. And the third suggestion is that puppets could be implemented in teaching different grammar components. Now we have reached the conclusion. In conclusion, puppets have been used in education, but systematic studies that assess and evaluate their impact on teaching and learning are still in the infancy stage. Although puppet work as well as grammar drills in grammar form retention, it is still a useful pedagogical tool as it can motivate pupils to actively engage in the lesson. So before I end my presentation, I would like to say that the future of English education lies in the hands of English language teacher, although I'm still just a trainee teacher. But still as educators, we have the responsibility to sustain the quality of English language teaching by actively testing the effectiveness of pedagogical tools or teaching strategies such as puppets. After all, innovation is seeing what everybody has seen and thinking what nobody has thought. In today's fast-paced technological era, it is easy to overlook materials around us. But remember, learning should be meaningful. Therefore, producing pedagogical tool that is literally at the end of the pupil's fingertips is as important as virtual pedagogical tool. With that, I end my presentation. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much for that excellent presentation. So does anyone have any